comparisons are really, it's just the year that matters. The only thing that matters is that particular year. I have to tell you, I'm still kind of like on cloud 9 with this job because it's I spent like 2 hours filling out paperwork today. CBS requires so much shit.
You're working with Curtis.
Don't tell them we're doing this.
Yes, I am.
Don't because of how Vern's situation.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
You can just say I work for a local prominent station. But I've worked with
I'm just going to do my normal.
Doing your normal thing.
Yeah.
These hours I had, the first week they had me on, they had me coming in the mornings, and they had me coming in late at night and late afternoon. And so now next week I get in a groove, I get the regular schedule, which is really nice.
That's exciting. I'm really happy for you.
Believe me, I needed
Well,
it.
you should be. You should be on the air. You're one of the best broadcasters.
That's true.
In the Bay Area.
My wife needs.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I grew up with. I feel like I
You're not that old, man.
At least in the '80s, starting in the '80s, it seems like you were have been around.
Well, I did a lot of freelance work, but I wasn't heard here in the Bay Area that much. Although I did a shitload of freelance work for radio networks in the '80s, and a lot of it was heard on KCBS. KCBS used to carry.
I always remembered listening to you.
Yeah.
I mean, when I met you, it wasn't like I just met. It's like I never heard of you. I'd known who you were for 20 years.
Well, because you were listening to KMBR had me on all the time. So the first, it's like, but of course, I let him do that because it was a way to ensure I wouldn't get fired.
So those are the stations I'm listening.
That's right.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
So remember to do this, and if you talk, don't go like this. Go like this. Like this. There you go. Edward taught me that one. I should know that one. I'm a broadcaster.
Yeah, exactly.
You taught me that one.
Just for this.
Yeah, I know,
just for this one.
You can teach an old dog new tricks.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Well, welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, longtime sports radio personality. Today's show is going to be special because we have our guest in the studio. We've had him on before.
We do, and I'm wearing the hat where we both went to high school, Redwood High School, and there goes my telephone, which I'm going to turn off right now. Turn that thing off! It follows me around. My wife knows better than to call me during the middle of the show. She's calling me.
Really?
Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, she knows better. She's just she's one of those. Anyway, Steve Travers played on the mythical national champ, and I say mythical because it never was actually. Well, he can tell you. They won the national championship for high school baseball in 1977, and they're going to celebrate.
We didn't actually play. It was all done in cyberspace.
There you go.
Okay, that's right. Because it's like college, the way they did it before they actually had a championship.
This is in Larkspur, California, just north of San Francisco, 1977. So we're celebrating the 40-year anniversary. And tomorrow night is the big dinner, and I've been honored to be asked to MC it. And Steve's going to be there with all his old teammates. But Steve also is going to tell us about his new book, which has come out about Candelstick Park and some great memories, which both of us and you also grew up going to games, watching the Giants and the 49ers. So it's going to be fun.
I still have the wind chill factor from Candelstick.
God, the place was just
freezing. I mean, it gets so bad. It used to get for those.
What was the press box like?
It was nice and cozy.
It didn't. It didn't. The wind didn't get in there.
No, the writers always made sure the windows were shut, and it drove me crazy sometimes because on a nice day I'd like to have the windows up. No, keep it shut. I don't want to hear the sound of the crowd. It was too distracting. The writers don't want to have the distracting sounds of the noise of the crowd.
Good thing they didn't do that on radio because.
Well, I was
radio good.
But I wasn't a play-by-play announcer. I was just a reporter and a talk show, so I didn't have to do anything other than watch the game. But I like to have the window open. These guys are all like, "No, I'm writing my story here. Don't bother me with that noise. I don't want to hear those fans."
All right.
Seriously, I'm not kidding. I'm not doing it.
Bob Stevens.
No, Bob wasn't that way. Bob was cool. But,
okay. So, guys, at each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. We're going to talk about the NBA, since we're going to get into playoffs here.
I'm looking forward to going out and watching the Warriors.
All right.
Yes.
Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
I'm actually going out tomorrow night. Saturday night. Durant's going to be back in the lineup.
Yeah,
that's exciting. I just think that they'll ease him back in. They
better
well without him right now. They won 13 in a
played
row.
pretty well without him for 2 years.
Well, they've played 6 playoff teams in a row. They've beaten them all. They won 13 in a row without Kevin Durant.
And a lot of this back-to-back stuff.
They're peaking at the right time.
They got some young players too that they didn't count on being this good.
McCaw.
Patrick McCaw, JaVale McGee is not young.
No,
then they have guys like Matt Barnes and David West and Sean Livingston.
When Matt Barnes played years ago, I liked him, and then I
Well,
didn't like
he's
him.
kind of a rough around the edges guy.
But
I
he's
think he's
mature.
mellowed. He's
He's
37
matured.
years old.
Yeah.
You
I
kind of
like
mellow
him.
when you get a little older. You know, you're not full of piss and vinegar. You're
Yeah.
full of smarts, supposedly. Yeah, I don't know if that's true. I'm 65. I sometimes feel like I'm not too smart having stayed in this crazy profession this many years.
Yeah,
But I had no choice.
I remember you complaining to me about your profession when I met you
Yeah.
17 years ago.
That's right.
Like the
Oh,
first
yeah.
thing out of your mouth.
That's right. God damn those
What am I
guys.
doing?
Pardon me, sorry. I'm using foul language here. And it's on the
YouTube.
yeah, it's on the YouTube.
Good thing it's not recorded here. Though.
That's right. There you go.
I didn't have to do that one time. I had to look at the clock as soon as someone swore.
Oh,
Did you see Brockmire last night?
no.
I saw the first episode. It's
No.
hilarious.
I
Pretty blue, but it's pretty
Yeah.
hilarious.
you know, there's so many good programs on TV, but I just don't.
What's Brockmire?
It's about a disgraced broadcaster. He's half Bob Uecker, half Harry Carey.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Full
That'd be
alcoholic, sexaholic, and it's very blue. And
Sounds
you
like
know,
Bill O'Reilly.
and now he's back in the minor leagues after
God,
after
I know a few
a
guys like
meltdown.
Oh, really?
In the big
Oh,
leagues,
that'd be
yeah.
interesting.
Bill O'Reilly is in deep shit.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that's what I hear.
He paid out $19 million in settlements.
Why
Well,
can't
there's
these guys just kind of
Well,
keep?
because Roger Ailes is the same way. The two of them probably did it together. You know, probably hung out with the girls together, and that's where he learned
But
from
just
them.
the idea of would you like to come up to my room? That itself shouldn't be
Yeah,
sexual
when you get that kind of money, you know, you think you can do anything.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
You can.
You know,
Unfortunately, some people do. You know.
in fact, see, I try to keep myself as clean as possible. Like when I was coaching girls' softball, I never talked to any girl by herself.
Yeah.
I always had
That's
another
good, yeah.
another girl,
You know, you hate to be paranoid, but in this day and age,
No.
it's like,
No,
yeah.
it's you know,
Yeah,
I don't even want an
that kind of
accusation.
thing. Coaching girls,
Yeah.
teenage girls, it can be a real difficult
It's
situation.
very difficult. Yeah.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. I forgot to mention the
Trivia.
sponsor.
Oh,
Sponsor.
oh,
So
okay.
I'm gonna just mention
Mention at
it
the
right
top.
here.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Before we introduce our guest, we do want to make a mention here that this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, still providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding over 7.5% secured by California real estate, mostly in the San Francisco Bay Area. Doesn't get any more conservative than that. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. So, Bruce, would you like to reintroduce our guest?
Yeah, Steve Travers is a friend of mine, and Steve is, I consider him still a kid because he's 7 years younger than me. But he is he and his friends are celebrating, his former teammates are celebrating their 40-year anniversary of this great high school baseball team that's from my alma mater, Redwood High School in Larkspur, and of course his alma mater. And Steve, also, before we get into that, I think we should talk about your book because it's about Candelstick Park, which has now been gone, hard to believe, for a few years. The 49ers finally left. Some great memories there with the Niners, but I always think of it as the home of the Giants, as you did, you know, and as Edward did.
I think everyone did.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about what made you decide to write a book about Candlestick. I mean, obviously it's a big story, but I mean, it just one day, boom, it looked like something that would be fun to
Well, obviously, when they started, when the 49ers left Candlestick, there was obviously a void, and there were a lot of articles in the paper, and a lot of people were writing in with their memories of Candlestick Park. And I thought, well, it's probably something of great interest because millions of people in the Bay Area have been there and have experiences there. Some good, not some bad, but I think mostly good. And so I wanted to capture the vibe of the place. I don't have any particular great love for the place, so I talked about some of its faults, which were many, but there were. And yet, as far as events are concerned, it saw some of the greatest sporting events of any venue in the history of American sports.
Yeah, you think about it, the 1962 World Series, the Earthquake World Series of '89, Dwight Clark's catch, a couple of other NFC championship games led the Niners to the Super Bowl, the Beatles with their last American concert, 1966. I mean, the Pope, I think, showed up there a couple times.
Yes,
so,
he did. In fact, I have an interesting little commentary, if you will, or some quotes where John Lennon, who played with the Beatles in 1966 and had said that we are more popular than Jesus. But the statistics don't bear it out because when he played, there were only 25,000
That's
people at Candlestick
That's
to see him, and yet when the Pope was there, which is a mere 20 years later, they sold the place out.
60,000 plus.
Well, and it's funny because that comment was just like a big controversy, and when this is a story I heard, is that people misunderstood what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
It wasn't that he was trying to say that he was better than Jesus. It was just like, hey, listen, the young people apparently like us more than they like church.
Yeah.
It's kind of what they were really.
Well, it was a phenomenon. I mean, I remember as a kid going to school, 12 years old, and the Beatles were suddenly. It was right after John F. Kennedy was assassinated. It was 2 months later, and the kids were going nuts. The girls were going. Yeah, the 12, 13-year-old kids were just, and the 16-year-olds. Man, they were really digging it. So
well, it's funny that era that. Bill Spaceman Lee, who's a friend of mine, and he went to Terra Linda. He graduated in '62, and he described Terra Linda High School this way. He said it was like Stephen King's The Stand, in which the older kids were 50s greasers, and the younger kids were upcoming flower children of the 60s. And that there was a real rivalry and divide between the two groups. As they were, moving into senior year.
I cannot agree with you more because I remember 1966, 67, 68, we had, my brother got, unfortunately, I'm going to mention this, my brother got into the drugs along with a lot of other of his contemporaries and some of my friends. A couple of friends of mine went off to Vietnam later. They were older and got messed up over there, and it was a crazy time, and there was a lot of stuff going on at once, and people chose sides, and sometimes you were on the other side. It was almost like a civil war, It's kind of like what we're going through today. America has gone through these periods, and I think Candlestick at that time was hosting the Giants. The 49ers hadn't moved over there until 70, and the Giants had these great pennant-contending teams with Mays and McCovey and Marichal. And God, what a treat it was to grow up watching that and get to see it on a regular basis. It was so much fun.
Well, I grew up at Candlestick Park. As a baby, an infant, I was actually at Seal Stadium.
Oh, did you go?
For I think one or two of those. My father and grandfather took me.
I was going to say, you were born about 59.
It was 59. I wasn't even a year old, but they brought me in swaddling clothes. And this was I believe the Giants blew a 3-game series to the Dodgers. The Dodgers went on to beat the White Sox.
That's right.
But I can remember Juan Marshall pitching against the Cincinnati Reds with the old uniforms without the sleeves, the old red uniforms.
Oh yeah,
Pete Rose.
Ted Kluszewski.
Yeah, I want to say Pete Rose was a rookie.
Vada Pinson.
He was a rookie in '63.
Frank Robinson.
And so these were some of my earliest memories of sports and going. And I mean, everybody I think can relate to this when you walk in, maybe the second deck, and Willie McCovey playing catch on the sideline with the green, and he would play catch, and he's maybe 90 feet away from his catch partner, and he would throw the ball left-handed. It would look like the ball was on a string as it was descending to the other guy, and they would throw to a little kid.
Oh yeah,
that was incredible on the green plains of Candlestick Park, and those are my earliest memories. And so I have, a lot of good times there.
One of my fun memories of McCovey was it was a doubleheader against the Chicago Cubs, and I think it was probably 1972, and there was a big fight that broke out. And McCovey being, kind of a gentle giant, so to speak, all I remember him doing is just grabbing guys by the shirt and just throwing them off the pile one by one.
That sounds like Willie.
Well,
he was a true pacifist. You never saw him raise a fist.
No,
he didn't have to because he was respected.
He was
a big dude.
As was Willie Mays. And speaking of fights, I think one of the best descriptions of Willie Mays' performance or his acting as a peacemaker with the Roseboro Marshall.
I was at that game, believe it or not.
A great writer named Arnold Haino, who was a Southern California-based writer, but I think he wrote for Look magazine.
Go back, because a lot of the listeners might not know about the Marichal. Was that with the bat?
1965.
Well, you set it up.
Yeah, it was August 22nd, 1965. The reason I remember it was my best friend's birthday, and the only seats we could get were in the left field bleachers. The Giants were in the third game of a series with the Dodgers.
Oh, you were actually there?
Yeah, I was at the game, and this was the third game of a 3-game set, and the Dodgers and Giants had split the first two, so this was a huge game, and I think the Dodgers had a 1 or 2 game lead. So the Giants needed this one. Marichal against Koufax Dodgers score early, and they take a 3-0 lead, and there was I guess John Roseboro and Juan Marichal had been barking at each other throughout the series, and Marichal was in the dugout, and Roseboro was chirping at him, and then Marichal came up to the plate, and when he was coming to the plate, they continued to bark at each other, and Roseboro threw the ball back to Koufax. He wanted Koufax to low bridge Marichal, knock him down.
Wouldn't do it.
No, Koufax wouldn't do it. So he threw the ball back so close that it ticked Marichal's ear.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy.
Which is crazy. And
I never seen it happen in
yeah,
baseball.
well, it was, that's pretty scary. It's
Yeah,
like a
sure.
bullet flying by. Marichal goes, turns around, and he goes, "What did you do that for?" And Roseboro charged at him, grabbed him by the. People don't realize this. He grabbed him by the shirt,
Right.
was ready to pop him in the head. Marichal takes the bat and just kind of drops it on his head, like bonk, like that. And we're watching this from the stands. Marichal's got it like this. It looks like he's clubbing him.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a glancing blow. It stunned him. It opened up a cut, and Roseboro went nuts, and the place went crazy. And the guy who saved Roseboro was Willie Mays.
And so, as I described, Arnold Haino's descriptions, he wrote a book about Mays that was published around '66. I had a lot of good reference material. I have a great library.
I know that one
myself.
you're talking about. That was a terrific book.
And
yeah.
he really, Mays was good friends with Roseboro.
That's right.
And he held him in his arms and said, "John, you're hurt. You can't, let's take you in with the Dodger trainer and Bill Bueller and let's get you fixed."
He was messed up.
He was very empathetic. The background of this, of course, was the Dominican Republic was in flames because Rafael Trujillo had been upended, and Los Angeles, California, where the Dodgers played, was in flames because of the Watts riots.
Okay,
so there were a lot.
We're going to continue on with that talk.
A lot of stuff going on at once.
Okay, got to cut to our
mid
break here.
'60s.
Okay, which NBA great from the 1970s and 80s officially changed his first and middle names to World B?
Oh,
Which
we know that.
I'll let Steve.
I'll let Steve
Peace
answer.
did that. Okay,
Yeah,
don't touch that
sound.
dial. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
I'll let you do
Sorry,
that.
we're just
That's an easy
over
one.
on that.
That's a fun one. So the book, has it come out yet? You got it out yet, or is it's in the process?
I know people are receiving it from Amazon, but I don't even know if it's in bookstores yet. I should
Okay.
swing over to Barnes and Noble
Yeah.
and see if they
There's a
have it.
little one right down the street over here.
Oh, they won't have it. They won't
Copperfields would have
have
it, really?
They don't.
Really?
I don't know.
Why
Maybe they will.
not?
Well, maybe they will.
Couldn't you
'cause
do one of those tour things?
Well,
that
maybe
they
they
do
will
at
because
the-
it's
should.
local.
Yeah, they
it's
should.
local.
Like that one in Corte Madera that we
Oh,
said.
Book Passage. They should, yeah.
I mean, they
Well.
should do one of those.
You should. You should do one of those.
I've
talks.
done talks there a few
Yeah.
times.
That's fun.
I don't know.
I know that their political views are different than yours.
Yeah,
but
But that shouldn't have anything to do with
No,
it.
no, no.
Politics aside, this isn't a
This is
political
not a
book. It's a
political
sports
No,
book.
I don't have any politics in this
Yeah.
book at all.
No.
How
He was a historian, like me. We're just kind of
Yeah.
into that history.
That's what we're talking about.
Although with you, it's more. I think it's more than a hobby. I think it's almost an avocation.
Well, yeah, I've made
Yeah.
a living.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Bruce McGowan. Here was our first trivia question. Which NBA great from the 1970s and 80s officially changed his first and middle names to World B? Go ahead, Steve.
See, he was giving us the blank look. Come on now.
Were you thinking?
Oh, I knew the name that he changed it to, but
Well,
his
original
original name is that's the one that's
Lloyd B. Free.
Lloyd B. Free.
Yeah, and
Lloyd
he
B.
was a delightful guy.
World B. Free.
World B. Free. He came to the
Oh,
Warriors.
and you were mentioned Meta B. Peace, and that's a different guy.
That's a different guy.
Willie Mays
You
with Ron
threw me.
Artest.
Yeah, that's
You
what kind
threw
of.
me.
But no, World B. Free was known as Lloyd.
Good
before.
player.
He was a great player with
Great
Philly.
player.
And he came to the Warriors, and he was actually pretty good with the Warriors for a couple of years, and I got to deal with him a lot. And just the happiest, friendliest guy you'd ever want to meet. He was always making jokes and just always had a smile on his face, and he was full of life. Yeah,
Nice.
fun
Okay,
guy.
so going back, Steve, wrote this book on Candelstick Park. We were just talking about the big fight between Roseboro and Marichal and how Mays got in there and kind of saved,
Right.
saved Roseboro a little bit. Right?
Yeah. He certainly prevented the fight from being worse. He kept some of his other fiery teammates from engaging in more fighting.
Like Orlando Cepeda.
Orlando Cepeda,
Yeah.
maybe Fuentes. I'm not sure
Yeah.
who
No,
else.
Tito was standing right there with the
A
bat in his
few
hand.
other,
He was a
yeah,
rookie.
there were
Yeah.
a few hotheads, and there were a lot of hotheads on the Dodgers who wanted
yeah.
some. And so when Willie Mays steps in and says, "Let's let's have, this is bigger than a regular brawl. He had a lot of imprimatur, so he played a big role in that. And then, of course, he comes to the plate
in the fourth inning
against Koufax, who's really rattled by the whole effort, and gets one up on Mays, and Mays deposits it, and ends up being a winning hit.
It was a 3-run homer.
A winning home run.
Opposite field.
Yeah, and it was one of the few times that they beat Koufax, who that year I believe was 26-8 with 382 strikeouts.
I got a good one to tell you about Willie. Willie told me years later, he remembered everything. He remembers everything.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
how many home runs did you hit off? He goes, I only hit that one. Sandy was really tough. I only hit one home run off him. He was a tough pitcher. I go, Willie, you hit more than one homer off Sandy Koufax. I looked it up. He actually hit 3 off him. But it was, 3.
Yeah,
That was it.
I wonder if any were in his Koufax's either Brooklyn days or early days before he was dominant.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they played each other 18 times
I'd have
a year.
They have a record of who Willie hit it off of and what year.
Right.
I should go back and look at that because I bet you.
Well,
Koufax was wild.
Mays never hit one off a Seaver. And this is like
Is that
Seaver.
right?
Seaver will, if you ask Seaver, what are you most proud of? He'll say, I never gave one up to Mays.
But you have to remember, Seaver didn't pitch before 1968. And
67. He faced him
68.
He was teammates with him 2 years.
But Willie was in decline at 66, 67.
Yeah,
Willie
but they
started
still
going
played each other 12, 13 times a year.
That is a big point.
And he still had a number of home runs.
He was hitting, he still was hitting 20 to 25 home runs per season.
You're right, he was.
That's a decline for Mays. Kirk Gibson's MVP stats of 88 were Mays' worst season.
I think he had 27 homers. Yeah. But of course, he was the engine, Kirk Gibson, not to get off on a tangent, but he was the engine that really pushed that Dodger team.
Oh, yeah.
And with that home run in the first game. But, Mays really knew how to play at Candlestick, didn't he? I mean, with the wind and everything.
He was.
That's amazing.
Yes, he really did. He changed his stance to go with the flow, hit home runs to right center field, whereas at the old Polo Grounds it was a short porch to left, so he would pull it to left field. He was also made for playing the outfield, which was spacious, and he dealt with he understood the winds, and he would direct his. He was a real captain on the field, a true.
Yeah.
I mean, Willie Mays was what I call a baseball savant.
Yeah.
Like Alex Rodriguez, guys who have instincts, work ethic, and they love the game, and they're what Picasso is.
No question.
It is an art.
Would Willie have been considered to have a fast bat?
Sure.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
He was. I guess that's why he hit so strong.
Mays.
He was very strong.
Mays was said to be able to hit balls to right field almost out of the catcher's glove. And the other thing that Mays did was Mays was one of the few guys who could do the great ones. Is most hitters will guess, and when they guess right, they get their pitch and they have success. But if they have failed to guess, if they're crossed up, Mays didn't have to do that, and he could. Oh, it's going to be a curveball. He could change it. He could change it the last second, but instead of hitting a long home run, it'd be a. I've seen Buster Posey do this.
Yeah.
The great ones with the hand-eye and the really quick wrists and tremendous forearms, and he could he could get one on the end of his bat and hit a home run opposite field. It didn't have to be. Didn't have to pull it.
Relating to what you guys were talking about, Edward was saying, was he that strong? Yeah, he played high school football at Fairfield High in Alabama, and he could have played college football. He was 5'11", about 100.
Absolutely.
At his peak, he was about 190. But you look at the guy; he was like a little tank, and he could kill the ball.
He was built.
He was built like and it wasn't through steroids, and it wasn't even through weight training. He just had that.
He did much in the way of weight training.
He's like Ricky Henderson.
He was had an excellent. He had a good diet. Well, not so much a good diet, but he didn't party.
He didn't drink at
all.
Didn't smoke.
Didn't imbibe in anything.
No.
At a time when a lot of athletes did.
Yeah.
Had a fair number of giants, but
not Willie. No, not at all.
Well, it kind of reminds me. What was it? Rogers Hornsby, who says, what do you do during the winter time? And he says, I look and wait out the window for spring.
Yeah.
For baseball. So it's like baseball.
Yeah. It's a lifestyle.
Goose Goslin is a picture of him in the glory of their times, and he's sitting there in his uniform in a snowstorm. I don't know what it
Probably
why it is.
barnstorming somewhere, you
But
know. And they had a
maybe,
snowstorm.
but the caption says Goose waiting for spring training.
Yeah. They used to barnstorm in places where there
Yeah.
would be snowstorms.
Well,
and
I think there was an article in the paper about a game that was played in Bolinas that
Yeah.
no one knew about.
Babe Ruth actually played in a
It was-
game,
it
but
was-
he
it was-
played in a game. He played in a pickup game out in Nicosia. He was out there to do some hunting.
but no one knew about it.
lot.
And someone
No,
came
he just-
across a clipping or a
Well,
photo just this is only a few weeks ago.
He was
in the Chronicle.
Babe Ruth was buddies. Well, he wasn't buddies. He knew Lefty Gomez. And Lefty
Yeah, of
Gomez
course,
grew up here.
of course.
Lefty Gomez invited him to play in
Is
this
that
game.
how it happened?
Yeah. Lefty Gomez
That
was
makes
just a
sense.
kid. You know, he's like in his Babe. This is like in the early 1930s or late
Yeah.
20s.
Okay, so even though we're not going to cut to a break, I do
Yeah.
have a quick trivia question for you guys because you mentioned about spring training. Who's the one who actually came up with
Branch Rickey.
no, before?
Okay, all right, you're right. Branch Rickey organized it. It could be Cap Anson or
Yes.
John McGraw.
It was Cap Anson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
in the South. They'd go to Hot Springs, Arkansas, or
Very
a
good.
place like that was warm, that had springs or temperate waters.
So it had nothing to do with spring of year, like spring being
Oh, maybe it
February,
did.
March.
Well, it led into March, which is spring.
I was gonna say the sad thing about Cap Anson though, just a great
I know
player.
Your
Yeah.
favorite, your,
Well, no,
your
I mean
favorite-
it's a fact. It's a sad fact.
Yeah.
He was a vicious racist, and we didn't have any blacks in the game
Yeah.
at a major league level until 1947. It was
Well,
mainly because he was
Yeah.
one of the guys who pushed
Yeah.
for
And
segregation.
one of the reasons
from the Old South.
one of the reasons spring training moved partially to Arizona was for that reason.
Yeah.
Because the black athletes in the South, in Florida, were having a hard time, and the Dodgers built their own facility for that very reason, to have a self-contained Dodger town for their black players. And then, of course, a lot of teams moved to Arizona, which was a lot easier for them. But Branch Rickey he didn't start spring training, but he was one who really organized it, organized minor leagues, and organized what you might call a Dodger way, in which you taught certain fundamentals from the lowest minor leagues all the way to the top. So each manager didn't give you a new way to slide or a new pitching philosophy or anything.
Okay, I gotta ask somebody who knows baseball. Okay, about
I
this.
got to know.
I got to know. I was gonna ask Bobby Evans about this, but I'll ask you since you're here, Steve. So lately, I've been noticing that these runners on first base, they take their lead, and when they dive back to first, they're diving back with their right arm. Instead of, I would think you'd want to dive with your left and push your body away so that's a longer sweep for the first baseman. A couple nights ago, one of the Giants players got tagged out, and I was looking at it and said, if he would have gone with his left hand, he would have had his body sideways, and he would not have been tagged
Interesting.
out. You ever heard about that, or ever thought about that?
Those are little subtle things, I guess, that I don't notice because I
Yeah.
never played it like Steve here did at a high level.
I don't have an answer for you. What did Bobby Evans?
I haven't
get a
asked him
chan-
yet. I'll
get a
have to
chan-
ask him about
Yeah,
that.
Bobby Evans being the Giants' general manager.
I mean-
but, no, there are a lot of little subtle things, Steve, about baseball. That's what. Evans
Well, I
mentioned.
mean, that reminds me of what Kevin Costner said. Punch drunks with your left hand, not your pitching hand.
Yeah.
Pet dogs with your non-pitching hand.
Yeah.
You would think slide in with what was not your throwing hand. So you would think that a right-hander would want to go in with his left hand, because you're
Yeah.
exposing your hand.
True, but I don't think that was.
That doesn't seem to be.
It's funny. I've never heard that one, but that makes sense. There are a lot of little things in baseball that
You'd have to really study the film,
Yeah.
with a guy like Maury Wills or Ricky
Yeah.
Henderson, and determine what is, because that's, every once in a while there's a change in the way people do things.
Yeah,
in
like rounding
sports.
first base, do you hit it with your left foot or your right foot? I'm thinking, I watch these people do it with their left foot, I'm thinking, how does that, I don't understand that. I understand about coming the inside and hitting it with your right, and it gives you a bigger push off.
That's crazy.
All these different thoughts.
I-
Okay,
Yeah.
anyway, guys, we're going to go to our
Okay,
second worst
gotcha.
question. Time goes fast.
Yes, it does.
All right, what was the interesting nickname for a former Boston Celtic star, Cedric Maxwell?
Oh, that's an easy one too.
You know this one too?
Yeah, of course.
I
I
know.
covered
Holy
this. I covered
smokes.
his greatest moment in the NBA.
Okay.
That was the 1981
we'll have
NBA
you
Finals.
answer that when we get back.
Yeah.
You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial.
That's the year I was in New York. and they beat the who the hell did they beat? God, my brain is not working today.
Like the 86 Celtics.
No, this is the 81 Celtics. This was the 81 team, and they beat
Oh, the 81?
the 81 team, and they beat the Lakers. The Lakers were the defending
Yeah,
champions.
they beat the Lakers.
Magic's second year. Yeah,
They
it was a
went
great
back
series.
and forth. Those were
yeah.
tremendous rivalries.
They played each other 5 times
Yeah.
in a decade.
Yeah.
I
And
remember
the
them
Lakers
saying
won
that
3.
the Larry Bird, 79, Larry Bird,
National championship game.
what you were just
Indiana
Magic Johnson,
State.
that those two guys like brought basketball
They
back
did.
because they
Basketball was,
Yeah.
it was never on prime time. It was.
Well, that's not true. It was, but in the late 70s, it was going through some tough times. Before that, it was. You're right. It wasn't a big time thing, but those of us who followed it, it was a big deal.
When did
when,
they-
Bill Russell played
there was
and
a
Oscar
time-
Robertson.
okay,
It
so
just
there
wasn't. It
there was
wasn't
a
like
time-
it is today.
There was a time when you were allowed to dunk. Then they had a period where you were not allowed to dunk.
Alcindor.
That was just in college, though, not in the pros.
No, in the pros.
No, the pros has never had.
It's never had that
never.
non-dunk?
No, that's
Huh.
never been the case. It was only in
I
college.
saw Jabbar
And it
play
was-
for the
it-
Bucks in
it-
person a few times.
Yeah. No, the reason they did that was because of Kareem and because he was so dominant, and so that's how he learned to scoot. He didn't learn. He had that sky hook,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which I don't understand why other players don't do that. That's a devastating shot. You can't stop.
Yeah.
A big guy can do that.
Yeah.
How can you get up and block that shot? You can't.
It's impossible.
It is.
That's what I remember watching. He
Yeah.
scored 34 points. It was nothing.
So it came with him, and then
It stayed around until the late 70s, and then they finally got rid of it.
Boy.
College basketball was kind of like, the dunk.
So Walton was not dunking.
No, Walton wasn't dunking. It was because the game was becoming so, in the 70s, the NBA was becoming really, for lack of a better word, colorful. The ABA and, there was just a lot more flamboyance. And the colleges, Wooden being the prime guy, we don't want to do that, though. That takes away from the fundamental.
Yeah.
And it's, to a certain degree, is true.
did you guys see the championship game?
Which one?
Gonzaga.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, of course. I was working that night. Yeah.
I feel like
Too many fouls called.
I heard that there's because
Too many
the
fouls.
court was floating. That the court was not.
It was an
correctly-
elevated court. That was another problem. I don't know why
Yeah,
they did that. I guess 'cause it's in a big area.
it did something to throw off the equilibrium
Yeah.
of the players.
It's when you put an elevated court up there, you're always.
Yeah, because you saw where they were sitting.
Yeah.
The players were sitting like
down below. Yeah.
dugouts,
Well,
which is
it's in a stadium.
Well, that's an interesting point because Chris Kronowski.
It was in the university. What do they call it? University of Phoenix Stadium where the Cardinals play.
Yeah.
That's where they
they
play.
haven't played a Final Four in a real basketball arena in
Yeah.
25 years.
Because
Yeah.
of the number of fans they want.
They want to get
It's in football.
the big events.
But last year was really a good game.
This was a good game, and the 2 games leading up to it were great.
I felt like, the guy Krasinski or whatever his name was.
The big
I think he
Polish
might
guy.
have been hurt
he's
too.
good. Was that
Well, he
I
had a
think he might have
terrible
been
day.
hurt.
The other guy was hurt
just
too.
anything.
What's his name? The one with the double 2 names. God, I was covered.
For Gonzaga.
The guy was crying. Goss.
Oh yeah,
something.
Porter.
Yeah, he was really upset
Mm.
after the game.
That was a big mistake.
Yeah.
He rolls his ankle. Just what? The guy's hurt. Championship game. This ain't you got to go with guys who brung you there. I mean, if a guy's
Yeah,
hurt,
but
he's
if
not
you
doing
try
well.
playing basketball with a sprained ankle,
That's what I'm saying. You got to get him out of
yeah,
there.
I mean,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what killed the Warriors last year. Steph Curry was playing hurt,
Yeah.
and they missed their last 11 shots.
Yeah, I mean,
Look at how many is like 3 Giants relievers who more or less destroyed their careers by pitching hurt for the Giants.
Yeah, and Rob Penn was one of them. Who are the others?
Oh, yeah.
And
Sure.
Wilson and
That's
and
right.
Beck.
Yeah, Wilson
Yeah.
and Beck. You're absolutely right.
You know,
Beck hung on, but boy, poor Beck had a
never
drinking
the
problem.
same.
Yeah,
And Wilson pitched a few more years.
Well,
And-
Wilson made his money though. Beck went back to the minors and pitched, but it's so sad because I got to know Rod really well, and he had a terrible substance abuse problem.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much drugs; it was booze and pills. I say drugs, illegal drugs, prescription pills. And he took an overdose, one night, and he didn't mean to, but he did. And
Rob Nen?
no,
Not
Rod
Oh,
Beck.
is that how he died?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not talking about Nen.
No, Nen is doing really well.
I didn't think Nen had.
No, Nen had no problems at all. Nen was from the.
Yeah, he was lights out.
Yeah, he grew up in Los Alamitos
Yeah,
with
his dad
JT
was a
Snow,
good-
which is where my cousin lives, so I know that area really, really
His dad played with the Dodgers
Yeah.
and the Cardinals.
I know a lot of people
Yeah.
who coached him in high school.
Good guy. Rob is a super guy.
Tell you what, let's go on to your 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
have fun.
Sure.
Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Here was our second trivia question. What was the interesting nickname of former Boston Celtics star Cedric Maxwell? You know this?
Yeah, Steve knows that one.
Cornbread.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
of course he
good.
And I said I was lucky enough. I was working in New York at the time, covered the NBA Finals when they played the Lakers. And they played the Lakers, I believe, 5 times in the 80s. And the Lakers won 3 of those, and the Celtics won 2. So talk about Larry Bird against Magic Johnson. God, oof, what a great matchup.
Great rival.
All right,
Yeah.
so Steve Travers, one of the reasons we wanted to have you here is for your congratulatory 40th
Yeah.
anniversary of being on the baseball team.
The Redwood High School of Larkspur, California baseball team. Tell us the story of that team, Steve, because, you know, if you don't live here in Marin County and you weren't around in the 1970s, you know nothing about this, but it's a big deal for your guys. You know, there's 19 or 20 of your guys that are still around playing, not playing, but, you know, could be playing if they wanted to, I guess, in a senior team or
A
something.
couple still play softball.
Yeah.
Well, it was Redwood High School in the 1970s, and we had a coach named Al Endress, and it was right at a time in which Marin County still had a lot of growth, and so there were a lot of families with school-age kids. And so youth sports was really big. It's not as big today. It's very expensive to live here, and it's harder to raise a family, and there's just not as many families like that. But in those days, there were. And so it was a golden age, and it was this guy, Endress, put together a dynasty at Redwood, which was of national proportions. And in that, I say, Al Endress, was named the National High School Coach of the Year in 1976.
Wow.
Our team in 1977 won the national championship. We were ranked #1 in the nation by Collegiate Baseball Magazine and the Easton Bat Company. And 3 years later, the Sporting News said that Redwood High was the National High School Baseball Team of the Decade in the country, which is quite an accomplishment. So people think of Orange County and Texas and Florida, but it was really happening up here. And we just, and you know the thing about that team, and I hadn't really thought about this. My friend Steve Hoffmeyer was a great player. He mentioned this, and he was completely right. That was my senior year, and I'd been in the program 3 years, and there were cliques and guys who didn't like each other, and all kinds of little side things that were going on. I don't think it necessarily kept the team from being very good, but it just wasn't as fun. And that 77 team, we were all friends. There were no cliques. There were no rivalries. Everyone rooted for each other. It didn't matter whether you were a sophomore or a senior. Some of our best players were underclassmen. We had a sophomore pitcher named Mickey Meisters, probably one of the greatest pitchers in the history of the county. We had Bud Biancalana, who was a junior, who's went on to great fame with major leagues. We had, I think, 12 players played college ball. We had a number of full-ride Division I scholarships, 5 or 6 professional players. I think we had 5 of the players were high school All-Americans. It was an incredible group, and so we swept through everything. We won some very close games and big games. We played a huge game against a team from Taiwan. And I looked it up, and we actually outdrew the Giants that day. We had about 7,000 people.
How did you fit 7,000?
It was like that scene in The Glory of Their Times, Bruce, where Smokey Joe Wood is pitching, is warming up, and people are surrounding. And they were like, there was no foul territory. People were surrounding the stadium right to the foul lines.
Wow.
It was great. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was wild, and people were parking in Greenbrae and walking over. There was no place to park in Larkspur.
I assume you beat the team.
No, we didn't. We actually lost that game.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a 2-1 extra inning game. And
the national team of Taiwan.
They had been the team that had won the Little League World Series.
Wow.
Frankly, I'll be honest with you, I don't think any of them were 18. I think they all fudged on their. They were grown men. First of all, when I think of Taiwan, I think of little guys. They were all 6'6".
Yeah. but you say they had been the Little League champions, so they had played together since their Little League days.
Yeah,
so 6 or 7
and
years.
We were all, your typical California surf boys. We didn't quite realize what they were playing for. They were playing for the pride of Chiang Kai-shek.
Yeah.
Wow.
This was right around the time that we created the One China policy, and that was the reason they came. They did a national tour, and they beat every team that they played 14-0.
Wow.
And so this clarion call goes out, who shall meet the Taiwanese? And Al Enders said, we shall oppose them. And so this was this huge event. And then, so we did lose that game. It was one of the few games we lost, but then we won the NCS, and then we beat Hayward in the title game, and then at some point after that, Collegiate Baseball Magazine, which was a very well-respected magazine that had a lot of high school coverage, they said that we're the #1 team in the nation.
Wow,
So
what a great story. But Al Enders is, I know Al, he was my PE coach, and he was the baseball coach when I was there in the late 60s, and they were great then. They weren't quite as great as they were when you played. But he also played pro baseball in the Dodger system. He played 1 or 2 years with the 49ers as a young 22, 23-year-old. What was he like? Because to me, as a kid who was 17, 18, this guy's in his 30s by that time, he was kind of a larger-than-life figure. What was it like playing for a guy like that? And tell us a little stories about him.
He was, I really think he was very similar to Douglas MacArthur. He was an authoritarian. He was, what did he say? This is not a democracy, it's a dictatorship. And, he had that kind of aura around. He was a very good-looking guy. He was a tall ex-pro football player. So he was physically imposing. He was Italian with very dark brows. He looked like Victor Mature.
I thought he was part Native American,
well,
too.
I believe so.
Because he's got a little bit of everything.
I believe so.
Typical American
I believe
yeah.
he might. Italian in that, he was a Catholic. He was a big churchgoer.
Yeah.
And a booming voice and a way of moving about. You really could easily see him dressed like
he had an aura about him.
Oh, he had an aura.
Yeah.
He had more than aura.
And the kids loved him. The kids, they feared him, but they loved him. I love this guy. He was the first guy. Seriously, Steve's laughing. He was the first guy.
Hey, Bruce, he was your PE teacher.
But no, let me tell you something.
Different than baseball coach.
When I was working my first job, and I wasn't paid for this job, I worked at a local station right in this building. Well, where this building used to be. There was another building here. But KTIM, we had a radio show. I did a radio show, a sports radio show, and Al Enders was a regular guest. I'd interview him and talk about the baseball team. And he was the first coach I actually ever sat down with. And I was 17 years old.
Yeah, he was certainly articulate and a good interview and all of that stuff. You have to separate the fact that he was a high school teacher and a respected educator. And that's all different. But once even Al Enders in practice was different. Once the game was on the line and it was all to win the game, then his competitive instincts rolled out, and he held you to a very high standard.
And that's why they had to. Put me on the sidelines a lot of times when I was coaching the girls softball. I tried not to keep them in tears.
Oh yeah.
I was always an assistant coach.
There's no crying in baseball.
That's right.
No crying.
You get really. It was amazing. We were as coaches were much more competitive than the girls were.
Well, it's because you can't control the situation, so you go crazy. It's like being in a car.
That's what it is.
You know what it is? It's like when I was stuck in traffic today. I couldn't move, and I just said to myself, "Am I going to get ticked off, or I'm going to?" No, I'll put some nice music on and relax, take a deep breath.
Go to your inner zen.
Yeah.
But speaking of Al and his earlier years, he told me a very interesting story. He was in the Dodger organization, and at the end of the season, he gets a phone call, and the Dodgers were still partly owned by Branch Rickey. And he said, Branch Rickey wants you to come to New York and meet him.
Oh.
Wow, what's that all about? And what it was he got to New York, met Branch Rickey. Because I'd asked him, did you ever meet Branch Rickey? And he says, sure, I know Branch Rickey. He just knew everybody. And Branch Rickey said, we have just purchased or created the Brooklyn Dodgers football team of the All-American Football Conference.
That's right.
It was around 1950 or so. This was the old league. The 49ers were in it with the Cleveland Browns and the Cleveland Rams, a few other teams. And would you like to play for the Brooklyn Dodgers football team? Branch Rickey asked Coach Enders. And according to Coach Enders, he said yes. And then on the plane ride, or maybe the train ride back, he thought about it more and thought, might interfere with my baseball career. he later declined. So he did not play on the football team, but that was a meeting that he had with Branch Rickey.
But he later played for the 49ers.
He later played for
Yeah.
the 49ers for a year or two in the mid-50s, and then that ended, and then he immediately got a teaching credential at San Francisco State, got into coaching at St. Patrick's. Then they opened up Redwood because the population was growing so much, and Bob Trotman moved over from Drake, and he was a highly respected coach. And Bob Trotman went after all these really good coaches, and he got Dick Hart to come in to coach basketball, and he got Coach Endress to come in to coach baseball and be his assistant coach on the football teams, which he did for many years before he just settled in as a baseball coach.
Yeah, so that was some great stories there. And again, it's such a different world today. And I know in certain communities, there's still a tradition, but that is not the case in Marin County anymore. In terms of the traditional sports of baseball, football, basketball, we have some good athletes coming out of this.
Well,
but not the teams.
I have to really
with the exception of Marin Catholic.
I have to really commend Mike Ferenzi, the baseball coach at Redwood, who played at Redwood a few years after. I think he played with Chad Kruder. And he's done a great job on their website and also with signage on their field, memorializing the 1977 national champions and having events like the one we're having this weekend that you're going to host. Remembering this team and wanting the current players to be a part of it and know that they're part of this tradition that goes a long way back. I think it helps to know that you're part of a high.
How many of the players who you played with on that team are going to be at this event?
I believe we could have between 10 and 13 different guys, which is and there's only about 25 players and were on the team in the first place. 22.
Somebody told me the woman is organizing. We hope to have 19. I don't know if that's going to happen.
They're going to be it's open to anybody who played baseball.
Okay. Oh, so it's other guys from other teams
there are
too.
I know for a fact there's some guys who were not actually on that team but played for Al.
Yeah.
But they want.
You mentioned Chad Kruder.
They want to be part of it. Chad Kruder went to Redwood. Frank Frone's going to be there. He was not on that team.
Yeah.
He had graduated 1 year earlier.
Well, there's a bunch of guys. Chad Kruder played in the majors for 4 or 5 years.
Oh, long. He played
10 years?
A good 10 years.
Yeah.
I want to say Chad played for the Texas Rangers and the Dodgers and somebody else.
Was it Toronto, maybe?
Yeah, he went to some other. Between 86 or 87, or maybe 88 and 99, roughly.
No, he was exciting.
Maybe more than that.
Yeah.
Maybe absolutely later because he was the Forrest Gump of baseball. He was the catcher when Barry hit his 73rd homer.
That's right.
And he's always in the picture. He's like Forrest Gump. He was always in the picture when Ryan would throw his 7th no-hitter or Ricky Henderson would steal his all-time most stolen bases or Bonds. Chad was always the catcher. He was always the guy in the background.
Yeah, talk about being in the right place at the right time.
Okay, guys, last trivia question, commercial break here. The Chicago Bulls, prior to the Warriors record, had a record 72 wins in the 95-96 season. They broke the old record held by the 71-72 Los Angeles Lakers, who won 69 games. Which team's record did the Lakers break for most wins in the season?
I know it.
Wow.
I'll let Bruce take this one.
Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back with some closing comments.
I'm pretty sure I know that one. But if I don't, you do. So one of us will know it.
I definitely know it.
Okay.
Great team.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was the 66-67 Sixers.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm thinking of. With Will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They beat Bill Sharman and the Warriors in the
That's
finals.
Right. That was the first.
Beat Rick Barry and Nate. They beat a good team.
They did. You know, you mentioned how basketball wasn't that popular, and you're right. My dad and I went and saw the second game of the Western Finals against the St. Louis Hawks, and we bought our tickets the night of the game. The place was sold out, but we got there 2 hours ahead of time.
My dad used to get blocks of playoff and World Series tickets for about $33 at the Bank of California in San Anselmo.
But Steve, seriously, you know who was sitting next to us?
Try to check, and here's our tickets.
You know who was sitting next to us? I mean, like right across the aisle. Dick Hart and his wife.
Oh, really?
I'll never forget that. And he was so sarcastic. He was funny. He was going, I said, hey, Coach Hart. He didn't know who I was. I was just a 15-year-old kid. I said, Coach Hart, you came to the big game. And he goes,
he had a gambling problem.
Did he really?
So what did he say when you said that?
Oh, he just gave me some yeah. He was kind of a sourpuss.
Well.
He was a good coach.
That's like, reminds me when Bird said Then he met Eartha. Vern really liked Batman, like the series.
He met Eartha Kitt?
He met Eartha Kitt, right?
Oh, yeah.
Eartha Kitt?
Yeah,
And he goes,
nice.
yeah.
I didn't know Dick Hart had a serious gambling problem. I heard that. Does that say he was betting just...
Let's put it this way. When I pitched at the University of Nevada, he was at every one of my games because he was always in Reno gambling.
Was he playing cards? Playing the
So,
21? Okay.
21 or poker,
Poker,
whatever it
okay.
is. Or I think the games. I think he bet on.
Oh, he bet on the
Yes,
games.
I
Okay,
think
yeah.
so.
Oh, that doesn't
See,
surprise me.
I like hitching my wagon to my old business partner who lives in Arizona now, but he's a good enough gambler where he gets to go to these tournaments. And there's a first prize for a blackjack tournament that he goes is like $1 million.
Wow.
And they only invite like 40 people. He's one of them, right? Guess how much it costs to enter?
$40,000.
Zero.
Wow, but you have to be good though.
Yeah. Well, you have to be big.
And you have to,
You have to bet a lot.
and you have to have some
Yeah, because the thing is,
connections.
that's what they do. They figure they get these 40 guys who are going to be big bettors,
Yeah.
and it's like they're a tournament within themselves. But while you're here, you can.
Are they betting all their own money?
What's that?
Is that their own money?
I'm sorry. Wait. No. They cost zero to get in.
But I'm saying when they get in,
They'll
lose
say
their own-
here's $100,000 worth of chips. That are not
Wow.
worth anything outside of this.
So they can
tournament.
actually walk away
with
with.
$1 million.
Oh.
It costs zero.
But I mean, if they don't win $1 million, they can actually.
Oh, so
walk
they're not.
away
But
with
they're
it.
not.
No,
They're not
they
taking money out of their pocket.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
They have
Correct.
$100,000 of chips, and then the game starts, and then at
Exactly.
the end
But
figure
it's
out the
usually
math.
like winner take all. But
Uh-huh.
what he's done is he's gotten to know enough of the players that what they do is when they get down to like the final five,
Oh.
or final four, whatever, they say, hey, look, let's strike it. It's just a gentleman's
Mhm.
agreement. If you win, you get 500,000. If I come in second, I get 200,000, and you 100,000. We
Yeah.
all agree, and then that way at least we all get a little something.
Yeah, from getting to the final five.
Yeah, okay, so I went to Vegas with him one time for one of these tournaments, and it was great because they put us up at just phenomenal rooms, right? So he gets in this tournament, and literally within the first 20 minutes, he's knocked out, and he's just not getting the cards. And he's a very, very good player, but if you don't get the cards, you don't get the cards. Right? So, but the thing is, because he had agreements with this guy, and this group over here, and this group over here, this group had made it into the finals, and this guy was a part of this group. He walked away with $36,000 for getting smoked.
Wow. Sweet. Good.
That was fun.
What a story.
Yeah. So we're just gonna have some closing comments here, and then we're done.
Sounds like a deal.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan and our special guest, Steve Travers. And I'll tell you, I couldn't skunk these guys. I had some questions here that they seem to know all the answers. And that is the Chicago Bulls had a record 72 wins, this is again prior to the Warriors record from last year. In the 95-96 season, they broke the record held by the 71-72 Lakers, who won 69 games. Question is, which team's record did the Lakers break for the most wins?
I'm going to let Steve answer that because we both know that answer.
Yeah.
So we're both right.
Hal Greer, Wilt Chamberlain, and the 1967 76ers, who won 68 and defeated Bill Sharman and Rick Barry and Nate Thurmond in the finals, the San Francisco Warriors in the finals of the NBA.
See, maybe that's why you knew that was because
The
of
only
San Francisco
team
Warriors.
in between 1957 and 69, other than the Boston Celtics, to win an NBA title.
And Steve would remember that because he was 10 years old at the time. I remember it because I was 15. It was the first year I actually went to see an NBA game, and I went to the conference finals right before that with my dad. It was the first NBA game I ever went and saw. Second highest scoring game in NBA history, 143 to 137 in the second game of the Western Finals
How
against
many
the
They
St. Louis
played
Hawks.
no defense in those
No
days.
overtime?
No overtime.
Well, that's
No, Rick Barry went off and had 47 points.
That's
It
like an
was-
all-star game.
Yeah.
In fact, I stopped watching the all-star
Lenny
game.
Wilkins was on that St. Louis Hawks team, and Jumpin' Joe Caldwell and Zelmo Beatty, and the Warriors had.
I was going to write a book with Rick Barry, and I spent
Oh, good luck
hours.
with that. I love Rick Barry.
Hours.
Trying to get him pinned down. Oh, forget it.
Yeah, well, it's a long story.
Yeah.
All right, and you'll have to tell us after we go here. Okay, so here's our thoughts for the day. Former NBA sports executive Dick Bertlead
Vertlieb.
Vertlieb.
I knew Dick Vertlieb,
Did
general
you?
manager of the Golden State Warriors
Oh,
when they won the
there you go.
championship
Okay,
in
well,
74, 75.
Well, he said basketball is the second most exciting indoor sport, and the other one shouldn't have spectators.
That's right.
And
That sounds like Dick Vertlieb.
And Tim Duncan said, "Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best."
I like it.
that. All right.
Good.
Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
All right, good deal.
Good.
You know, funny thing about Dick Vertlieb, he was up in Seattle as the general manager up there, and he later moved back to Seattle. He was really good.